Oh, hey, what's up, everybody? It is Sabo Shen, and it is 4th of July. Happy 4th of July, everybody. I hope everyone is having a happy 4th. I am broadcasting here from the Burner Lab studio, aka my house. I hope everyone is having a good time. Let me know if the music volume is too loud. I never know. If you guys could just let me know that you guys could hear me okay, I would really appreciate that. And you know what? Lots of interesting topics today. Today is the 4th of July, Independence Day. This is a day that we usually all go to the parks. We all hang out. We share food with each other. We celebrate being Americans. But this year, with COVID-19, it's a little bit different. And I think with everything that's been going on in the country, it's also just a little bit different. Different in many ways. Ah, shit. I do have my vape here. I'm going to take a vape. Sorry about that, guys. So, I've been doing a lot of thinking, lately. Just about what's going on in this world, how we can make it a better place. And yeah, I got a lot of thoughts about that. I got a lot of thoughts about what we could do to change this place, make it better, make it into a place where we're all happy, where we can have differing opinions and people don't get crazy. People don't cancel each other for saying the wrong thing. I think these are all things that are, they're important to me because, when I grew up in America, when I was younger, this country was really a country that, lots of people were very jealous. They were jealous that I grew up in this country, that out of all my Asian relatives, that we were the ones that ended up here, and often I wonder like, why has that changed? Why has that changed over the last few years? Why do they now think of, when they think about America, when I was younger, when they think about this country was really a country, they're like, why has that changed? When I go visit them now, they no longer say that I'm the lucky one that happened to immigrate over here. And when I was younger and I used to travel back to Asia, I used to feel so confident because they used to treat me differently because I grew up in America. They gave me bonus points. Basically, like, if you could speak English in Asia, you become like 50% more handsome automatically. And somewhere along the ways, that kind of changed. It kind of changed where no longer, were they so jealous of the fact that I grew up in America, but now they were asking me, when are you going to move back? And I go, that's really confusing to me because when I was growing up, this was the greatest country in the world to them. And they all wanted to immigrate over here. And we looked at China, we looked at Taiwan, that's where my relatives are from. I looked at those places as like third world countries compared to America. And I was like, why would I ever want to go back there? I live in America now. And now when I go back, they ask me when I'm going to move back. And that's so strange. It's so strange that is what they say to me. And it makes me wonder. So I started doing some research. I started reading. When did America lose its position of leadership in the world? When I was growing up, whenever there was like a global catastrophe, the whole world would look to America to see what we were doing and how we were taking care of our problems, and they would emulate us. So as I started doing research, the one thing that I came across was that when we started putting America first with our new president, That's when we gave up a lot of our power as a leader of the planet. And I know that may sound really weird. You know, like whoever made us leader of the planets to begin with. You know? But, you know, through our ingenuity, through all the different things that we did to show the world that we were the leaders in manufacturing, in the creative arts, you know, that put us into this leadership position. But we don't have that anymore. So how do we change that? And you know what? I don't think the world needs a leader anymore. I think what we need are countries working together more. You know, looking at what other countries have been doing that have helped with COVID to keep cases down. Not just to keep cases down, but to also keep deaths down. You know, how do they do that? It's through cooperation of the people. It's through trusting your leadership. You know, right now, in America, when they say put on a mask, half of us go, okay, let's put on a mask. Let's be considerate to each other. And then the other half says, hey, why should we put on a mask? This is infringing on our rights. I don't want the government telling us what we have to do. And I believe that's due to our lack of leadership here. When you don't have leadership that you could trust, then the people must decide what they're going to do on their own. And when the people have to decide, you know, a lot of people have a lot of differing opinions. So I understand why America has this problem with mask versus no mask. And for the handful of people that are watching right now, if you could let me know if the volume sounds okay. I'm always concerned about the volume levels as well as the music, but if everything sounds okay, you could just give this a thumbs up or, you know, just leave a comment. But yeah, you know, like, this has been really weighing heavily because I don't think this is the first pandemic that we're going through or going to have to go through. So the next time we have a pandemic, we have to be more unified in the way we treat the pandemic. You know, one of the things that I always tell people is in my hometown of Taiwan, there was no confusion over what to do. You know, there was no confusion over the science. There was no confusion over politicizing, social distancing, or mask wearing, or quarantining. You know, these were all things that, as a country, Taiwan unified over. And hold on, this beat, I'm worried like it's gonna get pulled with this beat. Sorry, this is like a beat that's a little bit more well known. I don't want this broadcast to be pulled. Kai, Marcus, hello. How are you guys doing? Yeah, so what I've been really thinking about is how to unify. How do we get the message to be unified? You know, like, you know, I see a lot of studies that say that masks don't work. Even on the boxes of these masks, they'll have warnings that say these masks don't help with COVID. And I could see why when people have these different outcomes when they read information. And ultimately, you know, the good news is, you know, while COVID cases have been going up, COVID deaths have remained steady. So the percentage of people dying from COVID is actually going down. But ultimately, you know, the countries or the states that have opened up, we've seen spikes of corona there. Whereas in countries like Taiwan, where everyone wears masks and everyone really respects social distancing, they never had to shut down the country. And that's where I'd like to see this country get to, where we trust our leadership, where we could trust the numbers that come from the CDC or Johns Hopkins. You know, when I show people statistics from the CDC and Johns Hopkins and they just scoff and they say that those statistics are biased, you know, sometimes I just wonder, man, we are so against authority right now that we can't even trust these numbers. So what are we to do? What are we to do? You know, it really sometimes makes me wonder, what can we do to unify? And, you know, I think one thing that has worked for me is to try and better understand people, and their stance, and not to automatically feel triggered by what they say. Not to automatically feel triggered by what they say, to be a better listener. So, why is this topic important to me? Why Marcus is asking? It's one of those things, man, that if we get this wrong, if we don't understand whether or not mask wearing is appropriate for us, if we get that wrong, it's that a lot of people are going to die. So I often think, okay, if I'm wrong, then we wear a mask. If they're wrong, we're infecting a lot more people. So how do we get unity over these things where 210 other countries are unified? These other countries are unified on social distancing and mask wearing. And yeah, as Will Tam is saying, we got to keep building these communities where we could come together. And when we could do that, I think that we got a chance. We got a chance to have people of differing opinions be able to be okay with others with differing opinions. And that's the thing about masks, is the people that don't want to wear masks, I don't think of them as people that don't care about other people. I think about them as people that are independent. There are people that feel like that the humans were around that had to deal with viruses and we were able to fight it off. So why should we hide from this virus? I get that they have a different frame of mind, but I'm around people that would be susceptible to COVID. That's why I want to play it safe, because I know that if I get COVID, I'll recover. But there are people that I'm around, like my mother, that are over 70, that I really want to protect. And, to some certain extent, Marcus, I believe that, yeah, we really do want to protect our opinions. There's something called the backfire effect, which is when you have your core values challenged and someone shows you proof that your core value is incorrect. Instead of saying, hey, thank you for that data, you kind of double down on your opinion, on your core value. I've done it. I've definitely done this before. And that's why I'm aware of when I'm doing it as well, which is, like when I was first looking at COVID information, I do jujitsu. So if you think about jujitsu, we're constantly touching each other. We sweat on each other. So I was looking for all the information as to why COVID, while being a new novel virus, isn't as dangerous as possible, or as we see. So a lot of my early information that I gathered was that, we're too worried about COVID, that we should really just understand that, caveman didn't have sanitizers, caveman got sick, caveman built up the anti-immunity to these things, and that we shouldn't run from this. We shouldn't be fearful. But, as I started seeing America's numbers spike vis-a-vis the rest of the world, it started becoming more worrisome. So I started looking at reasons to disprove my initial response. And, looking at American publications, we obviously have left-leaning publications, we have more conservative publications, and it's really hard to find what the truth is. So I started looking at, sources from around the globe. And by having more data inputs, I think I was able to put together a much more nuanced view of the coronavirus and how dangerous it is. So do I think it's the most dangerous virus? I don't. But do I think that it spreads easily? Yes, it does. And if it spreads to certain individuals, do they have a tough time battling it? Yes. So if we could be like other countries that practice social distancing and help contain the spread of the virus, I think we could reopen the country. But we will have people here that want the country reopened, that don't want to wear masks. And then we have states like Arizona closing again because of that. And I kind of look at coronavirus the same way I look at like injuries. You know, like when I injure my neck or my back for jiu-jitsu, like I want to go back to jiu-jitsu as soon as possible. So the second like my neck feels like it's 80% or 90% and I could go back to jiu-jitsu, I'll go back to jiu-jitsu and start doing it. But not letting it get to 100%, I re-injure it. And then I got to take time off from jiu-jitsu again. And I feel like that's how we are treating this in America, which is we see a little bit of improvement and then we want to go back to the way we were living. And then we get re-injured, you know, and I think that's kind of like the part where, you know, it's kind of, you know, very frustrating for me is because I want my mother to be able to come back to America, but we keep on having these spikes and I don't want her to be susceptible. So we're very much in that phase right now where we're looking at all the information and trying to figure out when would be a good time for her to come back. Yeah. And you know what? I mean, I think we can make America great. I think we can. There's a guy by the name of James Barth who comments on a lot of my videos now. And James is a staunch conservative, I think. You know, I'm not too sure what his political stance is, but he's told me that he vehemently disagrees with a lot of my views. But he understands that I'm a caring person, that I love people, and that even though I have differing opinions of him, that he can still have space in his heart to listen to me because he knows that I'm not... What I'm saying, even if it's different from what he's saying, doesn't necessarily mean I don't like him or that I think his views are invalid. It just means I have a different opinion. And we could coexist. You know, and we talked about some really troubling polarizing things like Black Lives Matter versus All Lives Matter. And just because someone says all lives matter doesn't mean that they're racist. You know, it means that they don't understand why people think Black Lives Matter is important, and that Black Lives Matter doesn't mean that Black lives matter more than other people's lives. It's that Black lives are so undervalued right now that we just want to say that they matter. They just want equality, not more. And for a lot of people, you know, when they hear that, it's still triggering. You know, they go, well, why can't they say all lives matter? All lives do matter. Of course all lives matter. You know, like I'm not saying all lives matter, but I'm trying to explain like why there's this term Black Lives Matter. And you know, like with guys like James, when we're able to have these nuanced discussions and it really explain to each other, okay, this is the reason why you say all lives matter. It's not that you are downplaying Black lives. It's just that you want everyone's life to matter. I get that. Now, this is why we're saying Black Lives Matter. Do you understand that because there's a history of Black lives being undervalued, this is why we say Black Lives Matter? It's not to say all lives don't matter. It's just to say that Black lives were so undervalued that they want to be seen equally. Can you understand that? Okay. Is it a confusing term? Yes, potentially. You know, it requires more conversations to understand the nuance. Now, there are also times when I make this explanation and the person still thinks it's bullshit. And at that point, you know, we just agree to disagree. But at the end of the day, if both people believe everyone should be treated with respect and that you shouldn't be treated differently just because of the way that you look, and we can agree on that, then that's great. Maybe we don't always have to agree that ALM or BLM, you know, mean this or that. But if we can agree that everyone needs to be treated with respect, no one should be treated differently for the way that they look, then I think we could come to that agreement, you know? And that is fundamentally what matters. You know, not who's right, who's wrong, but what we could agree upon so that we could have a beautiful world, one that has less violence, one where more people can work on the things that they want to work on, ones where we could be unapologetically ourselves and not feel like we have to censor ourselves and worry about what different people might be thinking just based on what we're talking about. You know, or our opinions. You know, like, I don't want to say the wrong thing and then have people want to cancel me. I want to be able to say the wrong thing and someone says, hey, Sabo, you said something that was offensive to me. Let me educate you. And then I could listen to them and we could have a two-way conversation. I mean, you know, even we saw those people that were holding guns, aiming the guns at the protesters. You know, they were aiming guns at the protesters. And we all kind of we're like, man, this is such a disgusting image. You know, Trump retweeted that image. And, you know, I'm not here to say what they did was okay or not okay. But if you look at their backgrounds, these were actually woke Democrats, quote unquote woke Democrats that were doing this. You know, these weren't conservatives. These were people that I think were worried. And there was a narrative, you know, there was a narrative that the media wanted us to see, which was, look at these Chads and Karens pointing guns at people of color. You know, but ask yourself, if you had a mob of people going through your gate, like, I don't know how I would respond. I would be scared. I probably wouldn't pull out guns. I don't own guns. But if I did, and I thought these people were going to attack my family, how would I have responded? Honestly, I don't know. But I'm not going to judge these people on their worst day. When you're scared, you make decisions. You make tough decisions when you're scared. And it's hard. It's really hard to think clearly when you're scared. So if these people were scared, I still have space to give them the benefit of the doubt. You know, now if we start learning more things about these people that are really negative, I may change my mind. You know, but I would like to at least hold enough space in my heart to be like, okay, they were scared. And maybe it's not what I would do, but these aren't the type of people that would just pull out guns and point them at people for no reason. And like I said, if I'm wrong and more information comes out, I'll change my mind. But I also know right now that what bleeds, leads. You know, so there's a lot of polarizing things that I don't think the media is doing it on purpose. I just think people are trying to keep their jobs. So the more engaging content that they put out, the more people will look at it. I don't think there's some Illuminati or secret society pulling the puppet strings for this. Maybe there is, but I'll never know. But I really believe it's just people protecting their best interests. The media outlets survive on advertising. Advertising is based on how much engagement you have. And if kumbaya articles aren't engaging and polarizing articles are engaging, well, guess what? People just follow the money. People just follow the money. And it doesn't have to be this, you know, nefarious scheme that's having where the puppeteers are playing chess and we're just playing checkers and we're just at the bottom just going with the flow. You know? So for this 4th of July, I'm still going to be happy. I'm still going to have a good time. I'm still going to enjoy my time with my family. I may light a few little firecrackers, but one thing I'm going to do for sure is I'm going to smoke a lot of weed today. And you know what? On the right here on the screen, you know, I'm pointing at mental health, flow state, philosophy, technology, self-expression, emotional intelligence. You know, these are 6 things that are exciting to me. These are the things that, really make me tick these days. Like before it was all about entrepreneurship, how to get shit done, how to build companies. And that's still part of my MO, but now it's about mental health, about being in a flow, about self-expression, things that really give you fulfillment. Business can give you fulfillment for sure. But I found business, it fulfilled me in ways because it showed other people like Sabo knows what to do in this life. Sabo knows how to make money. Sabo knows how to run a company. And it did fulfill me. But now that that part's fulfilled, there's other things that I really want to fulfill me, which is working towards things for the greater good. Like I've already made myself successful. What's next in life? It's having a purpose. It's helping other people. It's working for a greater purpose. It's working for a greater purpose. And that greater purpose is community-based. That's doing things beyond myself. Having a family really taught me doing things more for than just yourself is rewarding. So I've provided for my family. I've done that. Now I want to work on these other things that can make the world a better place. And yeah, now I feel comfortable enough to share my story with the world unapologetically, to tell them the things that are important to me, the things that I think need to be changed. I did this podcast once called I Want to Be a Conservative, and a lot of people thought it was like a weird title to a podcast. It's like, Sabo, you've been a hippie liberal your whole life. Why do you want to be a conservative? Well, I learned that, liberals and progressives, the reason why they're called liberals and progressive is because they're supposed to progress ideas that aren't good. And conservatives, Republicans are called conservatives because they're supposed to conserve the ideas that are really good that don't need to change. So for me to become a conservative, that means that we've progressed enough in society where it's time to conserve some of these really great ideas. Like, here's some great ideas. Don't kill people. Treat other people as you would treat yourself. Minimize suffering. These are ideas we should always conserve. How about this one? Men should fight men, and women should fight women. Transgender women should not fight women. That's an idea I think worth conserving. And if anyone wants to debate me on that, I'm happy to have you on. I want equality for all. But we can't have transgender women beating up on women and saying it's a fair fight. That's an idea I will conserve to the end. Because men have different bone structure. Men have different bone density. On average, men's shoulder to waist ratio is larger, which allows us to punch harder. And this is why transgender women shouldn't fight women. And that's an idea worth conserving. That's something I feel strongly about. I know I have a lot of liberal friends watching. That might be a triggering thing to hear me say those things, because it might sound like I don't want transgender women to have, the same rights to compete in sports. I'm not saying that. I'm saying transgender women could go compete against transgender women. But if you're going to have transgender women fight women, then you've never fought anyone before. You don't understand how bodies work. You don't understand physics. You're just saying that from a point of view where you think, oh, everything should be fair. Well, what's not fair is a 135-pound man hitting a 135-pound woman. Just like it's not fair for a 135-pound man to fight a 135-pound teenager. There's differences in testosterone levels. There's differences in bone density. There's differences in experience that allow an older man to play with a teenager of the same weight. And that's why I was saying, like, I would love to be a conservative one day. That the progressive ideas have moved society to a point where there's more ideas that we have to conserve versus progress. That would be a beautiful thing. But a lot of the stuff that I'm into needs to be progressive, like psilocybin psychedelic assisted therapies. We need more people to see this as a viable way to control, alt, delete your consciousness and reset. Because a lot of people are in mental positions right now where There's no hope. They don't feel like they could change themselves. They've tried so hard. They've put up so much effort into attaining their dream, but they just can't get past it because there's some childhood trauma or some trauma from their history that's not allowing them to get past those things. And that's why I think it's important for people to be able to experience psychedelics as a way to give them hope, as a way for them to feel things that are beyond themselves, to show themselves that, hey, there's a way out of this. You're not alone. And there's something about psychedelics that it just doesn't tell you. It shows you. It makes you feel that you're capable of those things. And some people may say, oh, those are just drugs. Those are just drugs that you do. And maybe they're right. But I think Michael Pollan's book, How to Change Your Mind, the research is there. These things can really change your perspective and give you what you need to get to that next level, which is hope. And if you don't have hope, then it's really hard to do things. So this is why I'm coming on here talking about these things unapologetically. I used to apologize because psychedelics, they would be like, Sabo, you're smart, you run a company. Talking about psychedelics, that's the dumbest thing. You have so much to lose. But you know what? If the world doesn't change, if we don't figure out how to become less sensitive to other people's polarizing ideologies, if we don't get to a point where we can love ourselves for who we are, it's going to really be hard to progress in this society. You know, and I can speak from experience. I've been very successful professionally. I've been pretty successful in my personal life. And there are still parts of me that wouldn't allow me to love myself. I would always think every time I got some compliments from people, I would always think to myself, well, if they knew the real Sabo, they wouldn't compliment me. They only compliment me because they got a free vape or I said something funny on a podcast, but they don't know the real me. And you know what? That's when I started realizing, wow, the relationship that I have with myself, it's not a healthy one. I only like myself when something good happens, when I accomplish things. When the company does well, I feel good. When my girls do something great, I feel good. When the company hits our quarterly goals, I feel good. But how come I don't feel good for just existing? For just being me? Not a dad, not a husband, not an entrepreneur, not a friend. Just existing, being me. And that's where I'm getting towards right now. This is how I'm leveling up. I'm starting to see the value of myself minus all the things that I've accomplished. And you know what? That has really, really kind of allowed me to level up. Not just level up myself, but level up the people around me, you know, at the same time. So I'm starting to really see working towards the greater good, fully accepting yourself for who you are. These are the things that will allow you to transcend the limitations that you've given yourself, the self-imposed limitations. Hold up. Whew, that's heavy shit, man. Well, I hope everyone has a happy 4th. You know, I hope listening to this gave you some hope, some direction on what to do in life, some inspiration as well. You know, I don't got it solved. I'm learning every day. But I'm open to learning more. So if you guys have anything that you want to share, anything that you guys want to say, if you guys ever want to hop on with me and talk about things that are important to you, people are always invited. I've been doing them by myself right now. They've been a little bit fun. You know, I've been just practicing the art of expressing myself, my stream of consciousness, unapologetically. Saying what's on my mind, saying what's important to me. And yeah, you know, I love this. I love this. So we'll finish with this song. This song is called Mental Healing. It's by Nujabes. Yes. What a great song. It's a great song. I love it, man. Alright, so. Sorry, I was just kind of feeling this song. It's really awesome. I hope all of you guys have a happy 4th. Spend time with your family. Say I love you to the people that you know and that you care for. Will Tam, thank you very much for watching. You're an awesome dude. And you know what? Maybe I'm going to try a little freestyling before we leave. Okay. Why not? Why not? Let's do a little freestyling. Yes. You know what? I don't care. This song might get this video pulled, but it's time to freestyle. Yes, it's time to freestyle. Yo. 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 Yo, it's time to freestyle. It's time to get buck wild. Y'all know me. I've got that pink style. Yeah, I'm not afraid to wear pink. I don't really care what you think because, yo, my shit don't stink. Yeah, it smells kind of rosy, but you know what? Don't get in my business. Don't be nosy because this is the beat called I Got 5 on it. And you know what? This is me on live stream. I got live on it. Yes, I got live. I got nothing to give. This is why I just go back and I gotta forgive. I gotta forgive myself. When I forgive myself, guess what? Yo, then my mental health, yo, it gets better. Yes, and when it gets better, I make way more fucking cheddar. Not that Swiss cheese, I like the mozzarella, but this is why I'm the thriller in Manila, because I turned off my amygdala. No, I had to turn off the visual cortex or something like this. Oh, what the heck? Yo, I kind of stumbled, but you know what? I gotta stay real humble. Yes, yes. Yes, and then I'm gonna go downstairs. I'm gonna play Streets of Rage with my kids. Yes, it's kind of violent, but they know it's a video game, and this is why we just do it. Yo, we do it all the same. Yeah, that's right, because it's time for me to go. And you know what? If you didn't know, my name is Sabo, and if you know, on Fridays, it's time for us to flow. So show up to Flow Masters Friday. It's time for me to go. We out, we out, we out, we out, we out.